trying to silence us. The Village of the Damned. I've obviously got Weeping Angels at the end, cutting the lead. I've got RTD sabotaging. They don't want the Hoopettes tonight and the panelists to have their final say. We're here. For how long, I don't know. I better talk at 1.5 speed. Good to see you, everyone. Good evening, Great Britain. Hello to our international friends. This is the Talking Sense, Making Sense about all the Doctor Who nonsense, Sense Sphere, on Thursday, the 4th of September 2025. A day when Stephen Moffat says it is the BBC's national duty in these times of darkness, unhappiness, in these days of war and economic turmoil, in this age of anger and rage, that we all turn to the national flag, to our king, to our anthem. Sorry, no, right, got it wrong. I lie. No, he didn't say that at all. Moffat said it's the national duty of the national broadcaster to make Doctor Who. Oh, God, they're filling airspace here. Any old Doctor Who, any old tat, is that what they're saying? Quality Who? Who that is recognisable? What does he mean? Just serving up more dollops of Dross Who? No. Diva Who? No. That gets us nowhere. My panel and my thread will discuss, and it'll be a crazy one tonight if the power doesn't mess us. So welcome to the show. There's the headlines. Moffat, BBC's national duty. The BBC's a national disgrace. Jane Tranter, it's only a matter of when and how. It's a matter of time, darling. Bad Wolf's PR machine, and RTD pleasing himself. I could have put a slightly different word there. Just before we race into all the meaty, tasty topics on time, the Sensory Hoopettes are on holiday next week. Oh, I think they're taking me and Jamie. But we have a new show every tea time for you to enjoy next week while we're away. It's the Cliffhangers and Nail Biters show. Sounds dodgy. Nostalgia, thrills and memories and clips. Do support us, repost, like and subscribe, tell your granny, tell your girlfriend thinking, it's all out there. It all helps. And before their holidays, we can still do shonky chats, super chats, cheeky chats. They're all there. Garbage Who will tell you all about it. Let's get our friends on. First and foremost, Sci-Fi Chronicles 79, John Yulden, Gallifrey 11. Are you there?
Hello, how are you, mate? You all right? Hi, everyone in the chat. Good to see you tonight.
Well, we don't need cliffhangers on nail biters. I've had my own.
Yeah, you have with the blooming internet, mate.
Oh.
I tell you what, they are trying to destroy you, mate. Definitely. The source is, you're going to have to be transmitting from the source's house at some point, aren't you?
I know. I'm going to have all these. I'm going to have a subwave network.
And can I just say quickly what you just said there about Moffat and about what Moffat said? I think the country's in a bad situation as it is without us having any dross like has been presented to us of Doctor Who in the last 2 to 3 years. We don't need to make things any worse in this country right now. Okay.
Yes, we need good stuff. Everything needs to be quality, and that's about time we all said our piece. Everybody said their piece. Now, somebody watching from afar, from across the pond, going, bar humbug to you lot. She hasn't been on for a little while because she's been busy. It's Michelle. Good to see you.
Hello. I'll try not to say anything that'll get you all arrested.
Yes, we'll all be in the same prison cell with one candle
and a camera. And a camera.
Because of shipping, I can't send you care packages.
So yes, it's crazy. I'll say hello to the thread in a minute, but you'll appreciate I'll try and get on. I'll take that off for a second, Michelle, don't worry. We'll get on with the show because otherwise
just do what I do, just pull yourself up, Michelle.
So the first one there, as I said, and I'll get on with it before they do cut our wires, so to speak. Moffat, it's the BBC's national duty. Now, as I said in my preface there, and I'll show you the quotes in a minute, but in what format is he talking about? Any old Doctor Who doesn't appeal to me. It's got to be the Doctor Who, recognisable Doctor Who, live drama. And just before I bring in my panelists and do talk to the thread, this is what he said. In essence, so former Doctor Who showrunner argues that the BBC has a national duty to keep making the show. Well, I mean, that's actually means nothing, but And then, of course, the spin-off's been shot, and I imagine decisions don't get taken until that's gone out, and that's not for a while, but it's always painful when it's off the air. I think there's a national duty for the BBC to make Doctor Who. No, I'm going to push back. I might be a diehard Doctor Who fan, but that's a lot of crap. No, no national duty to do Doctor Who at all, because if it's crud, I don't want it.
Well, hang on a minute. Taxes are likely to go through the roof. Everything's crumbling in the UK, but it's all right, everybody, because we're going to make sure the BBC have got enough money to make that absolute monstrosity of Doctor Who again for a few more years, or consistently on a regular basis. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Moffat.
I mean, an argument could be made ever, let's say, like, everybody was watching it, or the ratings responded to that. Let's gather around and have something that unites us and makes us British. The show hasn't felt British in years.
No.
That's why you
The
like
last time it felt British was Capaldi's era.
And as regards national duty, do you know what? Of all the times to start talking about nationalism and patriotism, and
I thought
just,
that was bad.
Yeah. Just don't go there now, Stephen Moffat, because you are wading into waters even you with your timey-wimey can't get out of, with a kind of strange reset at the end. And there's no time hotel to get us out of this one. No, we're heading for trouble as Britain, and there's no way around it. National duty to keep making the show. No, John and Michelle, this is my argument. We don't want to make 20,000 versions of Doctor Who just to keep it dragged on the air, because it's been dragged on the air, and there's a lot in our thread, and it may be you two as well, who's saying it has been on the air, but we haven't liked it. So in other words, don't just stick any old crap on.
Yeah, it I've said before, it needs to be away for quite some time. They seem to be in the mindset of, let's keep making it and just diminishing returns time after time. You only make something, or you used to make something in that era in industry if it was high quality, if you were proud of what you were putting out. Now it seems to be, let's keep it going forever. Let's make it a sausage factory, and we'll just keep pumping out, grinding out those sausages, so on a conveyor belt, so it keeps coming out. There's very low quality in the stories, but we're putting something out once a week, and that's what they're looking to get to. That's what I would almost call the Disney model. That's I'm not surprised he's got that mindset, really.
Well, it's also like, give me a job. I need my job. I deserve to keep my job. Compared to all you poor people, I deserve to keep my job. And also, when you're wading into, it's your national duty. I thought all this nationalism and patriotism in England was seen as bad. I kind of remember seeing things being painted over the St. George's flag lately.
Yeah.
Oh well,
100%.
We've been using the St. George's flag for roundabouts and everything now. It's become a bit like It's a Knockout or Just a Frontier. We've played our Joker on our roundabouts. And honestly, Michelle, if you came to England now, specifically England, you wouldn't get lost. You'd know you were in England, because nearly every lamppost where I live has a flag. And so you could actually have a kind of strange, otherworldly experience, but you'll know you're in England. We just like to remind you.
Because people like to say that in Americans were obsessed with their flags, and that you wouldn't see this in other countries. So apparently England's borrowing from us.
Yeah, I mean, you would see flags all over the country, Michelle. That would be after your short stay at the as a guest of the UK police. As soon as you land in the UK.
Oh yeah, they're going through my browser phone. Nope. Oh, explain this.
Wayne Parsons, who's invisible, he says, we never spot him. Don't make the mistake of thinking that because viewers are here and also like Doctor Who, they will agree with you about everything else. Partisanship drives viewers away, remember. There's nothing about partisanship here. I mean, let's be honest. I follow trends about Britain and the economics. There's no politics in it. Whether it's any shade of colour government, we are still in a pickle. And what we need is high caliber politicians to actually say the truth, but they're dead. That's the issue. And that's non-partisan, Wayne. That's non-partisan. That's just saying the truth rather than the lies that you get down at the Westminster from them all.
and we all have our opinions as well, and that's what happens in a democracy. That's the last time I looked, that's what's meant to happen. So, agree to disagree.
Yeah,
That's what we should be doing.
but remember, Wayne, remember, Doctor Who has not been a non-partisan show recently. RTD has never shut up about who he doesn't like. He doesn't like Michelle's party at all. He doesn't like half of America and what they've voted. He doesn't like what half of Britain seem to be at the moment thinking about. The issue is Doctor Who has been toxified by people who think they're sci-fi writers, and it's so bled into our show, Wayne, that we can't even just have a show now just talking about Doctor Who, because the buttons they're trying to press. They really have wrecked Doctor Who. And I tell you what, I'm holding them to account on this because it's a disgrace. There's no platform in Doctor Who. I came here on YouTube to talk about Doctor Who. I didn't realize I was going to have to do politics sometimes. And the reason is because they've dragged it in there. And as soon as they said it was a national icon, and I can see what Stephen Moffat's doing now, all this about national duty, it's a cultural icon. As soon as you hear that language, you know they've captured Doctor Who, and you know for a fact that Doctor Who has to be their politics. If Doctor Who was a little niche in the corner, was just hidden away, that little embarrassment that we used to seem to be, and we all had to stay quiet, we'd have the Doctor Who we want. But as soon as they think they own it, and as soon as they think it's a national treasure, we've lost it forever. This is the problem, Wayne.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. The last few years, it's been all about ideology and messaging. If I'm honest, I'm sick to the back teeth of it, and I just get so much joy, as I've talked to you in private, Brendan, about the fact watching classic Doctor Who. There are messages in classic Doctor Who, yes, we all know that, but it's not slapped in your face. It's well done, it's well written, it's subtly done, but you can enjoy the stories and you can relax and you can switch off. The trouble I find with Moffat and co, if it was coming back, a national duty to do it and have it every single week, it would be a message for a particular bunch of people every single week now. That's just what it's become. And I mirror what you said, Brendan.
I would have said, Michelle, if there was a duty, it's the duty of the showrunner to make sure it's authentic Doctor Who. They haven't changed the packaging, they haven't changed the content, and we get what we recognise. We're not being old cruds, we're not being dinosaurs, and nostalgia's not lying like Mark Gatiss was hinting at. The truth is, they have changed the programme under our faces and told us to shut up at the same time.
Well, it is a national treasure. It's the best of what British TV can be. But right now, we're not seeing that. And it was something to be very proud of, to be British. And that's what attracted to me to the show during the Capaldi run, because it was so British. And as I said, it hasn't felt British in a very long time.
And it's therefore lost its... Oh, God, I could go to town. I am going to go to town on this because everybody else is putting their Tupperware in. I don't want animation per se. I don't want CBBS per se. I don't want more audio. I don't want more books. I don't want graphic novels. I want live drama. I don't want spin-offs either. I want Doctor Who back. And I want it to be recognisable Doctor Who. And only an idiot would think Doctor Who had nothing to do with scaring the kids. Only an idiot would think that Doctor Who was a comedy, a musical, a fantasy, or a soap opera. Only an idiot.
Sorry, Brendan. I was going to say, isn't it funny, though, that they're all out lobbying now for Doctor Who must remain on the air, which does hark back to they're really worried about whether this is going to get commissioned in the future, aren't they? They are sweating it. All of the cronies, they're all sweating it, aren't they?
Well, that's why, just before I come to Michelle, that's why one of the headlines later on is about the Bad Wolf PR machine, as our source told us about. That actually they're putting a spin on this because that's the only control I've got left. Sorry, Michelle.
That's all right. No, I think they are sweating bullets. They are sweating that the show is not going to come back because I was told, oh, don't worry, it's coming back. There's no guarantees in life. There's no guarantees that someone's going to want to put this much money into something that they're not getting return in on. And this is very desperate because they know it is not appealing to the British public. They know it's not appealing to the worldwide audience. So, but it's like they're in an echo chamber. They don't understand. They're not having just take a step back and say, well, maybe we should have been doing X, Y, and Z. Maybe we should go back and look at what made classic Doctor Who classic Doctor Who. This is like almost the peak of arrogance. It's like I'm not wrong. You are all wrong. You're the problem.
So this is all, everybody, if you've just joined us, power cuts may persist. Stephen Moffat said it was the national duty of the BBC to make Doctor Who. I've just started to make my pitch saying, not any old Doctor Who though, because that's where we've ended up where we are. Just as I was about to finish my little pitch again, I was just about to say that basically Doctor Who started in 1963. It was pioneering. We should have noticed, and I blame myself and a few of us, who, when we heard them from 2005 onwards, start to say various things. They were saying, oh, Buffy, we want to be like that. We want to be like Star Trek. We want to be a bit like this. As soon as they did that, we should have been down on them like a ton of bricks. And sorry if some of you were, because the point is they were saying to us they were going to play risk averse. They weren't going to be pioneering. They were going to be copycats. That this was going to be a safe space only. That it was going to be TV that doesn't offend anyone, doesn't trigger anyone. That there would be no scares in it. Totally risk averse, desperate to please, fawning, pathetic, not Doctor Who. And yet, Verity Lambert, Sidney Newman, William Hartnell, William Russell, all of them from the beginning would go, what the hell is this crud you're making now? And he says it's a national duty to put it on the air. I say no. I say you lot, shut up. You've had your turn. You've ruined it. Back off. Give it a few years, please. And then let us have Doctor Who back.
Yeah, I mean, it needs. How many times have we talked about it? All of us here tonight about my view in particular is I think it needs a decade away at least to purge everything before you even stand a chance of bringing good Doctor Who back. The thing is, when I hear, again, going back to what Moffat said there about they should be making Doctor Who. No, you're right, Brendan and Michelle. They should make only good Doctor Who. And you only bring it back when you've got the right writers, you've got the right production team, and you've got the right acting talent involved to make it special. You know, we clearly haven't got that now. We've had a few years where it's been the same old people that have been doing it, and putting their ideology to the side, they just felt tired. They just felt lazy. They felt tired. There was nothing groundbreaking about what they were doing. It was old school stuff. And where they used to criticize the classic series of the late 80s, you know, we've heard them on commentaries before. They were worse, far worse than, and they've done far worse than what the late 80s Doctor Who was at that point. And I love that era, as you know, Brendan. But I just think it needs time away because of how much damage has been done, and they can lobby as much as they want. But I actually think there's probably execs at companies now, streaming companies, that are probably looking at it and they're going, why would we take that on what you've done the last few years? I mean, it's crap.
But they will also include us in this because, yes, if they see any streamers, I'm too small to be seen, but, you know, the streamers of our ilk but just have more power and sway, they'll go, I don't want to be involved in that because, look, there's anger there, there's toxicity there, that you can never please the fans. You know, you can just see program makers who are risk averse will just avoid this like the plague. I mean, Michelle, I think America has seen this happening with other franchises for years. We've all talked about them. But the saddest thing for me, Michelle, is that when we heard this was maybe going to come our way, I thought, yeah, Doctor Who would be infected a bit. I never thought Doctor Who would be the one that would be killed.
No, I thought that was going to be the Star Wars or the Star Trek. I thought, because, again, in my naivete, it's British. It's in somebody's hands that loved the program. Thought loved the franchise, would protect it. So yeah, this has been a big disappointment of, again, in my naivete of thinking that this is somebody in a group that was going to love and protect the franchise and take it into a new direction. Because the world needs Doctor Who and the messages that Doctor Who espouses, especially the classic Doctor Who. We need that idea. We need that hero. We need that person, that madman in the box that comes and fixes the problem. And yeah, it's just a massive disappointment. So everything needs to go on arrest. Everything needs to go for 5 to 10 years at least to bring in new people, to bring in new writers. And the only thing I think that is keeping Doctor Who afloat right now is the classics. The only thing that people are excited about now is speculation again on which season is going to be released on Blu-ray.
Well, we're all waiting for the season 13 coming. Now, just on this score, because there's a mixture of obviously what my source has been saying, is to remind you, everybody, even my source as a media insider said, okay, he says it's the national duty to make Doctor Who. But as he has said, the source, it's a show about a man in a police box who travels in time and space. The problem is we've got further and further and further away until it's unrecognisable. Under whose watch? The BBC. Under whose watch? RTD, Chibnall, and Stephen Moffat himself. So no, we don't want more of this, Stephen, because you lot, all of you, are complicit in this.
Yeah, and when you mentioned, you and Michelle mentioned a few minutes ago about, Star Trek and the Star Wars and the other IPs, and you mentioned a few minutes ago, Brendan, about Buffy.
Yeah.
The thing is, Star Trek has also followed under Kurtzman a lot of Buffy as well, where they've put musical episodes in it and other elements, because I honestly think a lot of these writers seem to think the only way you can do things now is to copy and impersonate Buffy. They just don't they just don't have the mindset to think of another way forward. And that's why you need new people who would probably have not now looked at Buffy, because it's too far in the past. It's a 90s show. I think I agree with what the source has said here, because not just the ideology side of it, but if you look at everything, since the 60th at least, it's getting further and further away from that madman in a box, traveling through time and space. I mean, how often have we talked about the fact that, how can't he just get back out to go into other worlds? Why does it have to happen on, it's suddenly in modern day London again, and it's just tiring. I know there's a budget. They will argue, it's a budget reason for that. But, again, that's what people want to see. They want to see the Doctor turning up on an alien planet, and going, where am I?
And as Michelle was hinting at there with various sins, we want something that will do a social commentary, as good sci-fi does. But you can't then know that what all the producers' backgrounds are. You can safely do that if you're more neutral or your background is anonymous. But you can't have writers if they're paid up members of the Labour Party or Tory Party, and then they're writing a sci-fi script. You go, hold on a minute.
But this is the last 10 years, though, at least, isn't it? Where you're right. Before that, politics didn't come into it at all. You were just the best candidate, got the role, got the job. Now it's kind of like, right, okay, which political party do you assign to? Okay, you think like that. Okay, well, you can't come on our production because you don't think like us. That's the trouble.
And we did a deep dive recently, and if I just remind everybody that even what I think a lot of people would say, season 17 was a fairly average-ish Doctor Who season. It's not seen as the top and it's not seen as the bottom. It's just kind of middle of the road. But if you just notice, even just from some of the clips, you think, yes, it was sci-fi. Yes, it was escapism. Yes, it was Doctor Who and it was recognizable. Yes, there were some messages there, but there were things like anti-drugs, anti-this. Take a look and just see and remind yourself why I think we're allowed to be angry.
A new season and a new series of adventures.
Doctor dies. 6 seconds, Romana.
You will now see, my dear, how I deal with fools.
Not that switch!
Hold it!
He is holding a primed explosive.
System into scrap metal. Now back off!
Can I just say what Tom Baker's Fourth Doctor is saying to the Daleks then? One false move and I'll turn this into scrap metal. That sounds like RTD saying, you take me on and I'll kill you short and I'll stick Shooty in a dress at the end. Don't mess with me, because it feels like that's what he's just happened. Let's just remind ourselves. Maybe this was a foretelling.
Explosive.
System into scrap metal. Now back off!
Nobody's allowed to see Leonardo.
Really?
He'll want to question you.
Well, I'll want to question him, sir.
He'll be here instantly.
What are you doing here? Exactly the question I ought to be asking you.
Now I have you both. Now you're bound to be cooperative. Well, Doctor?
Part of the new season on BBC One.
Right. Can we just for a moment, Thread and all three of us agree that middle of the road season, I'm just saying that as an average, yeah, because I know everyone's got their...
Oh, he might have gone on everybody. So he'll be back. He'll be back. Don't worry about that. I mean,
It's our show now.
I mean, I will say, Michelle, I'm going to come out and say it. Okay. I'm at a point in my mindset now where I wish Doctor Who hadn't have come back in 2005 now. And don't get me wrong, I love Matt Smith. I love Capaldi. I love the Tennant run, even though I can't stand the guy now. And I loved Eccleston. But I love missing having my quaint little Doctor Who where there weren't activists that had suddenly got infiltrated and infested the Doctor Who community and the production. It was a show you could go to, I could go down to my local news agents and pick up a Doctor Who magazine. There'll probably be me in my own little Doctor Who corner in the news agents. And that was wonderful. And now I just think that it's been so damaged because we all loved it in 2005, but it opened the door to what they were able to eventually do. What do you think about that?
I agree. It's almost like be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
And in 2005 up into the 60th, the 50th, that was a national treasure. That was something to be proud of. Going into the United States and going into the Barnes and Nobles, and it was Doctor Who, and it had the Union Jack on everything. It was like Britain, Doctor Who, Dalek, TARDIS, and almost as like maybe it would be better that it ended with Capaldi's run with them finding Gallifrey, and that should have been just like how the show faded off. On song. The Doctor story and the Doctor's era was over because it's almost impossible to keep something around as many decades as it was without ruining it. Because it used to be like, oh, there was never no bad Doctor as Tom Baker used to say that there is no actor has ever failed at being the Doctor. I don't think you can say that with a straight face anymore.
Yeah, I agree entirely because when you look at it,
12, you could say that. You can make a good argument for Colin Baker being a good Doctor, just given a bad script at a bad time. You can make an argument for Special Boy being a good Doctor, just given at a bad time. You can't make that argument anymore. You have to go, well, this number is good and this number is good.
Yeah, 100%. And I think you're right about that. And chat, let us know what you think about it. But certainly I think that, classic Doctor Who, you're right. You might not have liked the run of a particular Doctor, but you at least respected the Doctor, the actor that was playing the Doctor through those eras.
And
we did it up until
have an episode that's subpar. That's just life because it's a full season.
And we did it up to and Jodie Whittaker, that was at the point when we knew it was a casting, not for not for the best candidate has been chosen here. It was done purely for an ideological point of view, because you had the trailers at the time where she was cockily pointing up at the glass ceiling that was breaking and all of that. If it's Doctor Who, nobody gives a stuff about that as long as you write good stories and you have good actors and it's a good production. You don't even have to have an expensive production, but this is where we are now with Doctor Who. And I think you need what Brendan was talking about, and you kind of came onto it. You need to have Doctor Who go away for a few years now, because these people should not be anywhere near Doctor Who in the future. It needs to be people that are actually, what I would say, intelligent grown-ups that are
We
dealing
need
with
a
it.
whole new breed of writers and creatives and just everything. And you know, and here's the thing is where they're afraid of AI, because in AI we can create our own storylines.
Yeah.
Can curate the ending of the Capaldi era that we like. We can go back and create our own Doctor Who. And again, I'm always like, I'm a creative, like give money to creatives. But at the same time, we can all be our own creatives now.
Yeah.
And
I'm
we may not need the BBC to tell us what our entertainment is now.
Yeah, and you know, again, when Brendan put those clips up of season 17, and again for me, that speaks to what I call the BBC that I love, that I grew up with, that is dead now. It's no longer here. It's gone.
If that season came out now, and that would be like, oh my god, that was the best season of Doctor Who ever. And
Yeah.
in comparison to what it's fine, even a weak classic Doctor episode is 10 times more enjoyable than what we got last season.
I was talking to a friend on another channel the other day, and he was saying to me, actually, he goes, he's into like paranormal stuff and he's into conspiracy theories and all that. And he was talking about like reptilian creatures and, you know, all of that, you know, wearing human faces and all of that. And I said,
supposedly the British family or reptilians, like, oh, I won't go there. I won't go there.
And I said to him, as he was talking about, I said, you really need to watch City of Death, mate. You know, I said, that's right up your street. Watch that one. You'll be happy.
And some of those, definitely during the Fourth Doctor's era, you can see some of the paranormal things that were being put out, like the Chariots of the Gods. You're starting to see that reflected into what was being put on Doctor Who in that time period. So that's also a fun reflection of pop culture and paranormal, and getting into some of the conspiracy theories. And
well, I'm a Stargate SG-1 fan, and I always in my head I link Pyramids of Mars with Stargate SG-1 quite a lot of the time, because I think those two would work wonderfully.
Oh yeah.
With Sutek, so it's great. But I mean, I think going back to Moffat's comments, and everyone in the chat, let us know again what your thoughts are on it. But again, I think you agree with me on this, Michelle. It does speak of massive desperation from Moffat, and I know we're going to come on when Brendan pops back up about Jane Tranter and what she said, but it just sounds like it's squeaky bum time for Moffat and Tranter and all of that lot, because they don't know if they're getting commissioned, and they are in limbo at this moment in time. And it's nice to see them in that position, isn't it?
Hello, thanks for that. I'll make the most of it. I'll go like the clappers. Thanks for talking it through, and I will make the most of giving you a rest, both of you, for a second. There's a lovely clip of season 13 while you're having a nice break. Everyone at the BBC has forgotten that it was even scary. You've got to make it scary again and freshen it up, as my source said. I mean, look, we had a massacre in Genesis of the Daleks. We had crumpled scientists and military leaders and bunker members all over the floor. And didn't you love it?
It's like Shakespeare. Everybody dies except for the two actors that they had to hold the dead bodies off at the end of Hamlet.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, this is what we want. You learn so much from it. As my source said, remember, we're talking about the national duty, says Stephen Moffat. He says they're not even going to know what that show is. In other words, are we really seriously saying, yes, Stephen Moffat, you are so right. Make more stuff that you don't understand. No. By the way, This is what we're trying to run away from. Can I just show you this for a second? It's in next week's Doctor Who Monthly. Jodie Whittaker, her biggest interview ever. The Doctor and Yaz. It's not tidy, it's not controlled, but it's love in its purest form. This is the point. This is the Doctor Who, apparently. No, it's not.
You're doing it to me again, aren't you? You're just making my body convulse again, just because. Just seeing that image, it's where the rot set in. I mean, people talk about Capaldi, don't they? But Capaldi was a top class actor who could raise his game or raise a really bad script.
Yeah,
This again, just it sucks you back into the mire of complete crud again. It's just, it's trying to, it's trying to put lipstick on a pig, isn't it? Really? I mean, do you know what I like about Brendan coming back? If you look carefully, I'm at the top right now.
Yeah,
I'm at the top, everyone.
That time Eddie had to be dealt with.
It's love in its purest form. Like, the Doctor didn't love his other companions. It was never supposed to be a romantic / sexual love. It was supposed to be agape love in its purest form, love of two people, of friends, of bonding.
Yeah, and this wasn't done.
It was as Gene Roddenberry used to describe the Kirk Spock love. It wasn't romantic love. It was agape love. It was love in its purest form.
Yeah, 100%. And again, this speaks to we were just saying before you came back, Brendan. I was saying that this was no. He just did it deliberately. Everybody he wanted a cup of tea. This speaks to Jodie Whittaker being cast. She was not cast as the best person for the role. It was done purely for an ideological point of view. It was done, the first female Doctor. You had the trailers at the time with the glass ceiling, shattering and all of that. And I was making the point that if you're focused on Doctor Who, you don't care about any of that stuff. You wouldn't need to do it. You wouldn't need to make the point. You would just go, okay, Jodie Whittaker's been cast as the next Doctor. She will be seen when it's broadcast in November, say. But they didn't. They made a very big point about it. And this is where the slide began. And it went on from there. And everything was ideology first, story, structure second.
Tell me which bit of that. I've got nothing against Jodie Whittaker. Nothing at all.
No, she's a great actor. She does better roles than other pieces.
Look what she's saying. The Doctor and one of her companions, there were two blokes, but forget them. It's not tidy, it's not controlled, but it's love in its purest form. Which sci-fi concept is that again? Which planet are you on? Which villain are you playing against? I'm not interested in whether you fancy and which room or bed you're going to share with somebody in the TARDIS. This is irrelevant to Doctor Who. This is unrecognisable Doctor Who. And I maybe they knew I was going to say this any minute, and then the Who pets pulled the cord and I was taken away. Well, you see, this is the. If this is Doctor Who, Stephen Moffat, no, it's not the national duty to give us it because it isn't Doctor Who.
Yeah, I mean, I always, I've talked to you many a time. I've done many a shows with you, and I've always said, I always go back to the City of Death, where the Doctor Who says, "You're a beautiful woman, probably." The Doctor's not interested in that. The Doctor just wants to travel time and space and have adventures. Yes, he was a grandfather to begin with, but the whole concept is it's Doctor Who. He started with a granddaughter. He was a grandfather. I don't need any more than that. All I want is good stories and good actors playing the Doctor as the Doctor should be. Now it's like you get 10 minutes of maybe a monster save the day, and then you get about 40 minutes of, some LGBTQ relationship issues and running down a corridor away from the monster screaming like an idiot. That's what you get.
And if we remind ourselves, so Stephen Moffat says national duty to show Doctor Who. the stats are telling us that people aren't watching it. So what's the national duty? Because they've turned away. Take the stat, whichever one you want. Out of 18 to 24-year-olds, 40% have never seen Doctor Who. So why is it a national duty to show it? Maybe if they'd got themselves together and delivered proper Doctor Who, that figure would have been a lot lower. And that's the disgrace. So sorry that there were 3 people who crashed Doctor Who: RTD, Chibnall, and Stephen Moffat. I would say out of the 3, Moffat's probably given us some stronger stories, etc. But he had his head turned with Sherlock and other things as well. And unfortunately, as a composite, all 3 of them are complicit in destroying Doctor Who. May I just remind you, and this is probably going to be another signal for me being taken off again, but basically this is what they delivered us only 20 years ago. And so I've shown you bits of season 17. I don't recognise this either from what we were seeing now.
Do you want to come with me?
I do. I mean, already, Michelle, I'm thinking, this seems like so long ago.
Yeah, I know.
You're going to see all sorts of things. Trip of a lifetime.
Doctor Who, Saturdays at 7.
That Doctor, that TARDIS, the excitement, the buzz in the nation, all that's been killed. How? Who by? Quality writing? Poor budgets? No. It's because people have had hubris.
Do you know what? And just to paint a picture of where I was at that time, I was working at an insurance brokerage for HSBC Bank. And in the canteen at lunchtimes, they had a TV on. And on the TV came that trailer. And I already knew who was coming back. And I was so excited. And literally, the whole canteen were getting quite concerned about me by the way I reacted to that trailer in the canteen at lunchtime. That's the excitement I had then. And I carried that excitement throughout the first season, throughout Tennant's run, the Matt Smith era. It was when it got to the Jodie Whittaker era where I didn't agree, as I've said before, with a female doctor. And I just thought, right, okay, they're now actively coming after something that I love, something that I've loved since I was a kid. This bunch of people, they like to infiltrate things, IPs, franchises, companies, corporations. They're now coming after something that I absolutely adore, and they did. And they ruined it.
If you look at that first season, for example, 20 years ago, and you see, take your pick of the stories. I can see the sci-fi. I can see a bit of this. I love this Boomtown one, for example. It was the quieter, cheap episode, but I liked the dialogue that was going on with the encounter. I mean, Michelle, when you're seeing this, are you seeing what you thought was Doctor Who? Are there touches of what you wanted back?
100%. The music, you're going on an adventure, this strange, mysterious man, saying, you want to come with me? You're going to see things you've never seen before. He seems human, but not quite human at the same time. And in that commercial, they didn't focus too much on Rose. They have her at the end, but you're not hearing so much about the companion in this shot. It's all about the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So look at this, everybody. I mean, this is what we're talking about.
You're the most remarkable man.
Don't you think she looks tired?
Sack Russell T Davies, sack Jane Tranter, sack Phil Collinson, sack Julie Gardner, and I'll come back.
Do you know what? We all know this clip inside out. Every time I play it, it gets stronger every time. It has more resonance every time.
And you know what? We also kind of owe him, in general, an apology, because I remember seeing the hell he used to get on social media for only doing that one season and not coming back for the 50th anniversary. And now we kind of understand a little bit more. I think as a fandom, we kind of owe him an apology for that too.
Yeah.
I would say that 2005 series with Eccleston was the best thing that could happen for Who, and it was also the worst thing that could happen for Who. And when I say it's the best thing that could happen for Who, because Doctor Who came back and it was a big success. There was merchandise everywhere. It was a wonderful time, but the worst thing that happened as a result of it was it did go mainstream, and it did give Russell T Davies and his crew the egos to believe they were untouchable and they could do whatever they wanted to do. And then 20 years plus later, he then comes back to Doctor Who and he's got an enormous ego and he thinks, do you know what? I'm going to do unrestrained exactly what I want to do now. And that's exactly what he did. And he changed it completely from what it was.
And that's why I said near the beginning that the Doctor Who brand should go back to bold, go back to confident, go back to taking risks. You always saw in classic Who, you always saw a story that just wasn't your cup of tea. It was just so out there for you.
Yeah.
But then the next story was yours. In other words, Doctor Who was taking risks. It kept really going at it. It wasn't copying anybody at all. The trouble is now, Doctor Who is a bit of a beige victim of many American formulas from sci-fi, and it's taken the worst of each one, but not taken their spirit. We had the spirit and core of Doctor Who, and we've got the essence of Buffy, the essence of Star Trek, and all the rest of it, and we've changed it, we've diluted it. And now we don't know what Doctor Who is, and certainly not the BBC. So when Stephen Moffat does his stupid waffling, that's all it is now. Is saying, let's have the national duties. Let's make another season of what, Stephen? Of what? Your fantasy magical Christmas silly specials? What?
I mean, it's great. I mean, you're right, and I think when you look at classic Doctor Who, I hate it now where you get all of these nonsense comments online about modern Doctor Who, and they're going, people saying that they need to be seen. Oh, shut up. At the end of the day, when I grew up with classic Doctor Who, I wasn't seen. I was never seen. I just loved the story and the characters, No
media in the 90s had a pasty little fat girl who was always getting picked on, in there. I didn't need to be seen. I watched TV to get away from my life, to get away from what was going on at school, so I could escape for a half hour into a world of my choosing so this idea, and again, I'm not against representation. I'm interested in interesting stories.
Yeah, I mean, interesting stories like this.
Oh, no. Lynx, hecky thump. What's wrong, Grandad? Don't you want a kebab from that takeaway booth?
That's no takeaway booth, you wet wipe. That's a Sontaran scout ship. A Sontaran experiment.
So, we were in Niagara, and because I'm a Doctor Who fan, me and the Who Pets, we knew that was a Sontaran battlecruiser. We just knew. Nobody else in Niagara knew. That's the beauty of being a Doctor Who fan. That anywhere you go in the world, you go, that looks like that. That looks like that. That looks like that quarry. That looks like that place. And you're in a different world and you're taken there. And I don't want Doctor Who to be so beige now that I just wander thinking, well, nothing reminds me of Doctor Who. Nothing links to me anymore.
Well, they're saying this should come back. We don't even know who the Doctor is. I mean, there's nothing to rally around. We don't have an actor's name to say, oh my goodness, I can't wait to see them as the Doctor.
Yeah, it's done. Oh,
item 2 was because our great Stephen Moffat, whose some work I have liked and some stories I've loved, and I think he knew how to scare kids.
Yeah, he did.
BBC National Disgrace. My source, who obviously, I'm the source whisperer, and when my tech is working, I can do some whispering. Here's some evidence. Maybe not tonight. I'm not whispering. Oops. But yeah, he said it was more of a national disgrace what's going on. There he is. Do you recognise him now, everybody? If you see him in Cardiff in November, he is in Cardiff. That's what he looks like. He'll sign autographs. So basically, he said the executives at the BBC, they are denying British audiences, and because worldwide audience watch British shows like Michelle, a whole genre of content, it is a disgrace. It's a national disgrace. Can everybody just notice something? Anonymous source, but his immediate insider says that Stephen Moffat, Mr. Kingpin, national duty. Oh, discuss the middle ground in between.
Disgrace. I've
killed him. I've killed him.
I mean, again, worldwide audiences, and Michelle, back me up on this if I'm right, okay? Because I'm going to use where you live as an example. Worldwide audiences watch British shows if they're good.
Yeah,
they don't watch British shows if they're bad. If they've got bad writing, bad acting, people tune out of them very, very quickly, wherever they are in the world. And that's what's happened with Doctor Who. So the fact is, this is Moffat, who, like you said, Brendan, at the time, he was also writing Sherlock. And allegedly there was the rumours that he was struggling to write Doctor Who and Sherlock at the same time. So there was a delay on output of Doctor Who, where we had, shortened seasons. So during that period. Now, he's talking about Doctor Who should come back and it should just be made. The trouble is, when you look at the quality output of the last few years and the quality of the stories and the writing, they can't even get through those number of episodes without a Doctor-like story and the production being bad. So how on earth would they ever cope with doing it every week non-stop without it ever going away, every year? They just wouldn't be able to do it. I still suspicious. I think RTD is already using ChatGPT, to be honest with you.
That's insult to ChatGPT. I think it probably could produce a better episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Well, the source will tick you off. He told me off when I said RTD was.
There was a South Park episode where they did that. They used ChatGPT to write an episode, and it came out pretty funny.
Well, Mad Mackham's saying I'm triggering John too much. I'll probably have a power cut again in a minute, and John can just take over the show and sabotage it again.
He does these. He does what I call a diversity bomb. He just lobs at me throughout the show, and it just triggers me.
Listen, for some people, it'll be Green Death. For some people, it'll be Planet of the Spiders. For some other people, it'll be Sea Devils. But these all grabbed up people, whether it was phobias or different types of dying, to thrill the kids. What was thrilling about the last series? Some conspiracy theorists, some invisible monster that you never saw ever, a cartoon character that just drifted into the clouds. I could go on. Omega, who's obviously too anorexic and needs actually to start eating some carbohydrates. What? I mean, honestly, shocking.
Two Ronnies, in which one of them just looks and goes, okay, bye. And the other one lasts for like 10 minutes.
But
shocking.
Again, both of you and people in the chat, it's no surprise that when the collections box sets are announced and they're up for pre-order, they sell out like gold dust. And they go to the top of the charts, like on Amazon and other places. No surprise by that. And it outsells the modern era Doctor Who stuff because it's good, it's iconic stuff. I mean, you look back, you were just showing there, the spider on the back is an iconic, it's an iconic story. It's an iconic moment. The green face from the Green Death, is another iconic moment. There are so many iconic moments in classic Doctor Who. That is what people are leaning towards now.
And classic episodes are being put on YouTube. Sorry, but they're being put on YouTube right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
100%.
I mean, look at I will
That's
be
good.
fair. Look at Waters of Mars. That was
Brilliant.
thrilling. If I'd been a kid, that would have had me bricking it. So I
Yeah.
will be fair.
They've not done that for a long time, though. That's the trouble.
Yeah.
You know.
Why doesn't the Source pictures a new showrunner? Will they listen to him, Lee? The thing is, I've talked enough to the Source. I know he's got pictures. I know he's got ideas. I know he makes programs. I know he does various things. The thing is, will the BBC listen? And it sounds from what I'm hearing is the BBC, and I've got bits of slides later on, Lee, that the BBC will listen to you if you're enormous, like Amazon, Netflix, or that level. They want you to buy the back catalogue. They want to hear the sound of the till. They want to go global. They just have ambitions to just do this kind of global Doctor Who. They don't have ambitions to make quality Doctor Who. They just want to make more content. And as soon as anybody wants to just make content without an idea, you might as well not say it's your national
100%.
Make more.
And again, Brendan, you know, the way to make it global is to dial in, and this is part of a pitch, but you dial into what is most important and what people love about the show. It's the unique Britishness of the show that people worldwide liked and tuned into. You focus on that, you drill into that. That makes it a success. You know, I've said to you before, it would be like doing a Star Trek series in Cardiff Bay. It just wouldn't work. It's some things are just iconic because of where they are and where they're made, and Doctor Who is that show. Tune into that, you'll get success.
Now we're going to look at. So Stephen Moffat said something. Jane Tranter said something. RTD has said something. Oh, they're all at it this week. So regarding Jane Tranter who? Well, watch your ears for a second because I'll jump as fast as I can. I'll get to the moment. I know where I want to show you, but get ready.
Taxes. We are infertile.
I have been a massive Doctor Who fan.
Here we go. This is our Jane Tranter.
I wish that she was exactly like you. Joy to the world!
I have been a massive Doctor Who fan. Nobody else thought that was a good idea.
It was so ready to fail.
It was seen as a kind of entertainment, pastiche, silly property.
Absolutely what had happened to the show in the 80s.
Wouldn't.
How big? I have to say, I'm doing the same.
Arseholes. I'm saying it. Arseholes.
Honestly, it does. Listen to what they're saying. 1 minute she says she's a massive fangirl, but she has been complicit in what they've done recently to it. And I know what you said earlier, John, about the 2 iterations of RTD and how he's kind of, as David Tennant said in that documentary, he's got the guardrails off. The thing is, I believe she's a Doctor Who fan, and I'm pleased that she was part of the group that brought Doctor Who back. But how come they've so changed? I'll just show everybody it again because there's so much.
I have been a massive Doctor Who fan. Nobody else thought that was a good idea.
It was so ready to fail.
It was seen as a kind of entertainment, pastiche, silly property.
Now, I saw you shaking your head then, John.
This gets me so angry. I mean, if they were here now, I would literally be trying to get superhuman strength and rip them all to pieces because the arrogance of these people, and they say it would become a silly property. No, it hadn't. It just needed a rest. That's where it got to, in my opinion. The fact of the matter is, what you just did since the 60th is far worse than anything that you talk about the late 80s. And the arrogance of you people, it's staggering. It really is. You lot are complete hacks. That's where I am with it.
But John, just to add to what you were saying, you know, you've kicked back on what they've said about it being the 80s being silly pastiche and light entertainment. Okay, if that's what they believe, then Stephen Moffat saying, let's just keep churning out as a conveyor belt of crud lots of Doctor Who. No, because it might risk turning into what they have criticised. Why don't we just make quality TV, and if there's not many ideas, then there's 3 episodes a year. I would hate that, but I'd prefer to have 3 brilliant episodes of Doctor Who, at, say, Halloween, Easter, and a Christmas one, than having 24 episodes of blah.
Do you know what this with what they've said there? You know, and again, I know this was a few months ago, but what they say here, for me, they should be not just not involved with this production, but any established IP or franchise going forward. They should just not, because they sit there and they say this stuff about, oh, it becomes silly, late 80s and quirky. But then they, as I said to you, they did what they did for the last few years. But this also speaks to me about the fact that they are so close knit and they're all friends. There is no pushback from any of them. You know, she's saying it there, oh, late 80s is silly and quirky. Okay, that's your opinion.
But John,
but then you've got a producer who's coming in Russell T Davies, and he's going, right, what we're going to do, we're going to have a gay doctor, we're going to push the ideology, and then they've gone.
We're going to have a singing and dancing routine. We're going to have the Trainmaker come out to Spice Girls.
Exactly right. And where's the pushback? One of them should be pushing back.
And look, whatever they say was silly pastiche Doctor Who, I will say that burping TARDIS, you know the bit in Devil's Cord when, as the final note, the TARDIS banged the door shut, and the zebra crossing where they all danced and it made noise. Excuse me, is that light entertainment froth? It's been nominated for a dance award. Is that the type of light entertainment pastiche they mean? Because they can't see what they have done. They are happy to criticize other people. Those 3 love to slag off politicians of a certain colour. But by God, do they ever buy a mirror? Because I honestly want them to see that if they think the McCoy years were crud, what do they think Space Babies, Devil's Cord, Empire of Death, Rogue was? What do they really honestly think that was?
100%. And again, you know,
don't worry much about that Emmy nomination. No one pays attention to the technicals. That's a technical. No one pays attention. No one actually watches the Emmys anyways, to be honest. So it's not that big of a deal. It's we need to fill something out in the scorecard.
Yeah, it's like at school. It's like at school, you know. It's like it's got so hilarious now where they go, oh, okay, we've won this award for a dance on what is allegedly a science fiction show.
No, I haven't.
That's the equivalent at school of, right, okay, I got 4th place in the egg and spoon race. Therefore, I've achieved something.
Out of 3.
Yeah.
You were at home, but we've given you an award.
Show in the 80s.
They wouldn't come anywhere near us.
Look, all you've cost that pop star. It's phenomenal.
Billy, would you ever return to the show?
I've returned a bunch of times.
And you know nothing. It's a shame you're not a woman anymore.
Something a male presenting Time Lord will never understand.
Just let it go.
Henry, get away from him. Them. I'm them.
You're assuming he as a pronoun.
Weaponizing lies. You are exhausting. It's the first time I've had this black body. Some parts of the earth are now treated differently. Yeah. In Africa, I'm accepted.
Treat you like one of their own.
Oh, I know. Mad Mackham thinks I'm triggering you both.
There's also prejudice in Africa, certain countries. You're not a certain caste system, so I mean, there is discrimination sadly everywhere, and it doesn't make it right. It's disgusting, but to say that's just
Never have I had a bunch of Ice Warriors that I've wanted to turn up and just fire their sonic weapons at that flipping character in one hit and turn him into a little ball.
So what Jane Tranter been saying, right? I've introduced her again. She was the one with the stool. It's an industry decision. It's like any business. These things take time. Oh gosh, what a pun. I think the decision will come after the transmission of season 2. Or do you think so? That's what we're expecting. That's what we've always been heading towards. I detect, Michelle, I can smell a bit of spin here. That we're starting to say, oh yes, we were always heading that way. Michelle, can I cast your mind back? Weren't we, before season 1 started, hearing all these great interviews about going global, that
Yes.
there would be Doctor Who on every year, that we
Yes.
would have a Who-niverse, and we'd expand into spin-offs and everything.
Yeah. Oh, no gaps. No gaps. Yeah.
Oh, so now this is what we were always heading towards, a gap.
Shooty was wanting to break the record for longest running Doctor, I think, at one point, or talking about that it was going to be more than just 3 years. I kind of remember that being hinted.
Yes. Oh, I mean, Shooty's latest wheeze is saying it was all part of the plan to leave when he did. Well, I rewrote the bloody script, and we all know he was staying longer. And if it was always the plan that he would leave at the end of season 2, liar, then why have they set it up that Susan was going to meet him in season 3? Sorry, lies.
Yeah, poor Susan Foreman and Carol Ann Ford being used in such a poor way too. She should have come back in the 50th. I mean,
I mean,
or the 60th, it would have made more sense there.
I mean, this era that's just gone, I don't consider it canon at all. And as far as I'm concerned, Carol Ann Ford never came back.
Yeah, it's all a fever dream. The Master lies. The 12th Doctor is still in his TARDIS regenerating.
Yeah, 5 Doctors is where I am with it. You know, with Carol Ann Ford, I'll keep with that.
The problem is, this is what I mean. This new, these showrunners, these executive producers won't let go. And of course, she's got a bit more to say, and I'll show you. But of course, this is what they're doing to Classic Who and everything. They've destroyed it. And here's an example.
You said we were alone here, trapped like this, like a sponge beneath the sea. I, Morbius, who once led the High Council of the Time Lords, now reduced to this. Who are you? Where have you come from? You one of the sisterhood?
I thought it was absolutely vital to do this. And I'm so proud of the fact that I deserve an award. And I have problems with her. And lots of us on the production team that I hired only last week had problems with her.
Don't have problems with the AI. That's Garbage Who. Subscribe to him now. Let's get him over 100. Thank you, Garbage Who. Anyway, so basically, the BBC will kick it down the road. This was what my source said. The BBC will kick the decision down the road. I remind you what Jane Tranter just said. We were heading towards wait until after season 2. Yes, okay. The one who doesn't need to tell you the truth. Yeah. And there's a Sea Devil Eye, because I just thought I'd show you one. But basically, she continued. I imagine at a time when Disney are having huge cuts themselves. Or is this gaslighting? Is this kind of starting to contextualize the problem? I imagine at a time when Disney are having huge cuts themselves and there have been slashes in program budgets, they're looking to take their time to balance everything out and decide what they want to do. Michelle, remember what we were saying a minute ago about their master plan for the universe? Is this gelling?
No, I mean, this is, and I've heard through the rumor mill, through other shows, again, that Disney was not happy with what they got. No. They were promised something different, and this was not what they got, because they were wanting to get the Whoniverse. They were wanting to get the back catalog, including the classics. They were wanting it all. They wanted to have it all on Disney Plus. They wanted to bring it into the parks eventually, have this massive success.
Yeah.
And they were given a plate of garbage that they can't market.
I mean, John, I know Madam Mackham is worried that I'm triggering you every few minutes, but
you by now I'm used to you. It's a daily occurrence with you. This is just what you do to me, okay? I will heal eventually. Don't worry. I mean, again, this makes me laugh because this, mate, is the fact that the best thing about, imagine at a time when Disney are having huge cuts themselves, there have been slashes in program budgets. They're looking to take a look at the balance everything out and decide what they want to do. Yeah. What Disney are doing is they're basically cancelling rubbish shows that are not performing, that are costing them a lot of money. And they're saying that, so they are chopping this. They are not going to go forward with this. They're saying this was low quality. It didn't get the returns on investment that we made on it. We're not doing it. And again, I forget the name of the series, but there was a more popular series on Disney Plus that Disney cancelled after 2 or 3 seasons They announced it within the last few weeks. So it doesn't look good for Doctor Who and Bad Wolf and the production team. But I love this about how they're now having to come out and trying to spin the narrative that this was always part of the plan. You know, Disney, they're our friends, but you know, really,
well, are
you
we
know,
not
waiting on them?
Disney parks just had the worst summer on record, I believe, and including even in Florida, which it was the big one. I mean, I get California, not a lot of people want to go to California, but even Florida, the Universal Epic Universe is kicking their rear ends. They had a horrible. Everyone had a horrible box office except for Netflix with the K-pop Demon Hunters phenomenon, and that was streaming. Hollywood just had one of the worst summers. The next 5-year calendar for Disney looks awful. We're going to get a Toy Story 5. It's like just sequel after sequel after sequel, and those qualities are going down.
But have you noticed? Okay, the master plan was always to have a little think after season 2. Okay, we'll buy that for a second. But she's now adding a bit more, which is, and also I think Disney's having problems with the budget. All right, so this sounds like an impossibility. My source said Disney was out after watching Space Babies.
I don't blame them. I mean, they're like, you just gave us what?
Yeah, I was told.
All the executives and they're going.
I was told 10 minutes in, that was it. The other thing I was told, as you know, by everybody by the sources, that Disney, with all their data, was trying to contact RTD. RTD was not contactable, and it was either Julie Gardner in America or Jane Tranter who tried to help get the data to him. But of course, he's very busy. I'm doing season 4 now, you know, and it was all like that.
Can we just have a round of applause here, please, for Russell T Davies, by the fact that the most woke company on the planet thinks that your ideology is far too extreme, that they've actually checked out. So we'll clap to that. Thank you, Russell. Well done, sir.
Well, John, it all happened here. This is when it all started. It didn't start with Sydney Newman. It started here.
Yeah.
I hear a new doctor you have, Russell. Or should I call you the Fitzroy Pumboy? Terence Dix. Bloody hell, are they still letting you in here? Surprised? Your conservatism blinds you, Terence. Now you'll experience the full power of the queer side, man. You will not stop me. Shooty Gatwa will become more popular than Tom Baker.
Do you know Shooty in that one is actually saying, I've got bad knees. That's why he's leaning over the counter.
What did I just watch? What was that?
That was called a mixture of me, Jack. Jack does the voices of the great Terence Dix and RTD. That's Brendan with his kind of, it's not exactly wizardry. And of course, the Fitzroy Tavern is where we talk about Stephen Moffat and everybody all meeting up when they were just fans, concocting the future of Doctor Who, so to speak. So there you go. So, but what my source did say, just to remind everybody, is it had made sense at the time. You know, she's just talked about budgets and slashing it and Disney finding it hard. Well, we teed up it for Disney. He said it made sense. They made 2 series of Doctor Who as one film in block to make it cheaper and to actually save budget because you had the same standing sets, blah, 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 blah. So hold on a minute. I'm not sure if Jane Tranter's telling the full truth. She is starting to blame budgets. And my source is saying, but they actually filmed it in a very different way to save an awful lot of money. So why is Disney still not interested? Could it be that all those rumours, source telling me it was Space Babies and RTD not exactly cooperating, is it that type of thing? Disney thought they were getting a hard reboot. So did the BBC. They did not think they were getting a continuation, which Stephen Moffat seems to be arguing for. And that is why they're out. Nothing about budget. We're all looking at budgets. I understand that. But I also know, Michelle, Disney's got enough money to go, if this is a good series, we'll back it again, but they're not going to back a dud.
Yeah, it was a success, and they were getting the back end of merchandising and able to put into the parks and having more than just the TARDIS appearing once at some of the parks in California and Florida. Oh yeah, they would have figured out a way, move heaven and earth to try to keep it going with the hope of putting it into the parks. And because again, merchandise is what moves it now on these shows. They were able to put out the Shooty action figures and the Millie action figures and the TARDIS and the Daleks. They would move heaven and earth to figure out, because it would be making investment money back for them. They would be getting a return for their effort.
Yeah. I do laugh at this budget nonsense because it's come up before, and I've said it time and time again. To make Doctor Who a success, you don't need a massive budget. You need a modest budget. And you need a good production team, which they did have at Bad Wolf, because I'm not blaming them for it. They did what they were asked to do.
Yeah, they did.
And you have good writers, and you have a good cast of actors. You can make magic happen. But the trouble is, with RTD, he was literally the kid who, on his 10th birthday, all his family members gave him £50 each, and suddenly he's got loads of money to spend for his birthday, and he just went out and blew the lot. And he said, I bet Disney sort of said, so what have we done with the budget for the effects and everything? Well, we've got giant bone creatures that are walking around London,
which aren't relevant to the narrative, really.
Exactly.
And as Marie here, good to see you. Lack of budget can help creative writing again. Look at Red Dwarf. Do you know the budget went on, yes, CGI, but it went on, if you had the Doctor having one recognizable silhouette, that would have been cheaper than actually every 5 seconds he had to do a diva change like Beyonce.
And also, you could actually just freeze frame him crying each week and just put that on the screen, couldn't you? That would have saved you a lot of money.
We could have recycled water. We could have actually had a salination plant. And she finishes off. Sorry, she just finishes off Jane Tranter saying, at its heart, it's a BBC show and it will keep going one way or another. It's not a matter of if Doctor Who will return, but rather when and how. Now, this sounds a bit timey-wimey, or does anybody think I'm being too negative? If Doctor Who will return, it's not a matter of that, but when and how. Now, if you think about it, Michelle and John, she's actually saying we don't know when it's going to come back. It's just that if I say when and how, sometime in the future, it could be the next 100 years.
Yeah, kind of. And they're never. I don't think the BBC is going to cancel it. Like they never officially canceled it in the wilderness years. It just never came back.
Yeah, I
raise them and go. And we also need to start preparing. It may never come back, and that may be a good thing. Let's just sit back and relax, enjoy the classic era that we have, and a little bit of the modern era that we can enjoy. We have 50 years of media. We have some of the books. We have some of the early Big Finish stuff. We have the early Doctor Who magazines and the comics, and that may just be what we need to keep.
I think I worry as well. I mean, it's what it says at the bottom. At its heart, it's a BBC show, and it will keep going one way or another. So basically, it could be a completely dilated version of what it once was, but they'll keep it going. So we're back to the sausage factory mindset that I talked about at the beginning. Watered down beyond belief, very little substance to it, but we've got to put something out. That's what I think we could get, sadly.
Will it have a pulse? Who cares? That sort of thing. Remember, my source goes into lots of meetings. I've not heard anything. No one is saying anything other than Doctor Who is over. So that doesn't compute with what Jane Tranter's saying either. And some nice excellence to remind you of what death looks like. And of course, we've got Jane Tranter saying it's a matter of when and how. Stephen Moffat saying it's the national duty of the national broadcaster. And when Russell T Davies was asked in a recent Big Issue interview about the future of Doctor Who, he said, behave. In other words, shut up. In other words, I've got nothing to say.
I want to raise the point about Russell T Davies, and it's what you mentioned a few minutes ago, and it's about the fact that he wasn't taking the calls from Disney, he was ignoring them. Okay, so look, Disney are a massive corporation. Okay, Disney are not someone that you want to piss off. So I have, you know, surely if he's hacked Disney off, then that's surely got to get around Hollywood and elsewhere. Any other streamer that gets involved would literally be saying, this guy is blacklisted. We've heard about his attitude. He's not going to be working with Bad Wolf again. You know, that surely would happen, because Disney have been known to cancel people and to blacklist people, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's happened because of his attitude to them, if that is the case and he has not been returning their calls. And again, this behave thing, it's again, he knows nothing, he's gone, he's down the road now, it's nothing to do with him anymore, that's it.
So my reminder is on the Bad Wolf PR machine, everything we've said today from what the latest iterations have been, my source has got down as just their PR machine. Because basically, remember what he told us. He said Bad Wolf are not leaking anything out or making any ultimatums. You know, there was the issue about whether they were actually kind of pushing Disney into a decision and all the rest of it, and the BBC, because, you know, we've got the TARDIS set. And so he said, so everybody involved, and particularly Russell and Jane, and, you know, these guys at the top, they will be devastated. They will be absolutely devastated. Make no mistake about it. So, knowing that, oh heck, that's how bad they feel when they wake up, he was saying, I wish sometimes fans would try and understand that these are real people, and although you might not like the show, and although the show's clearly not worked and clearly needs new leadership, these are still human beings who have tried their best. Okay, now he's trying to be caring there. But of course, Jane Tranter has not held back. She's also said that casting Shooty and Jodie was nothing to do with the culture wars. Well, what the hell was it to do with it? It wasn't canon, was it?
just these people, they live in their bubbles. They, you know, they spout this absolute BS all the time, don't they? And it's just complete nonsense, because I would love to sit down with her and actually go through it. And when she's saying this, I'll go, okay, I'm just going to play you this clip first of all. This is Jodie Whittaker pointing towards a glass ceiling that's shattering, okay? But it's nothing to do with the culture wars, is it, Jane Tranter? Absolutely nothing, okay? That's fine. Unbelievable.
Culture wars, you know nothing about them in America, Michelle.
No, yeah, no.
Where did we import them from? So yes, so the whole story, remember that story we were told, 26 episodes, 2 Christmas specials, 3 anniversary specials, we're coming to the end in 2020. Why did they delay that 2026 spin-off? We know why. Kicking into the long grass, as my friend the Source said. And remember, he also said, I don't think a streamer worth their salt with any intelligence would let the BBC put Doctor Who on as a first broadcast if they're buying the rights and they're putting the money in. There's going to be delays. There's going to be legal niceties to be resolved over the next 3 or 4 years. And then you've got the problem of the back catalogue. And then you've got the problem of what you do with the shooter years. And then you've got the problem, which is, if I'm a big streamer and I've seen how Disney was shafted, why would I let the BBC broadcast the episodes first before me, who's put the money in?
No, they wouldn't. Not a chance. It just... money talks, isn't it? You know, you know, we can moan about it. I don't like it, but you know, if say Amazon suddenly said, "Oh, by the way, we're going to put in 250 million, but the condition is that we show the episode first and you get it 24 hours later," they're going to say yes to it straight away, aren't they? You know, they're literally going to agree to pretty much this lot, or agree to pretty much all the strings that these people have will put forward. So it's common sense, it's business sense. It just, that's the way the world works.
Well, if they thought that they could get a return for their investment with a quality product, then it would go forward. I mean, talking about the budget during the Smith years, I never went to Florida during the Smith years, but from what I've heard, you go into Epcot, which in the England in the UK pavilion, they would have all in the gift shop. It was all Doctor Who stuff. You walk into a Barnes and Nobles, it was all Doctor Who. Hot Topic, Doctor Who. There, when I moved to Fredericksburg, there used to be a little restaurant next to the college, and you go into the bathroom, and all the college girls had done DW, Dr. Amy Rory, and they're drawing the logo, or bow ties are cool, and these are teenage girls, college girls, carving Doctor Who into the first graffiti I ever saw in Fredericksburg was Bad Wolf. Somebody had spray painted Bad Wolf on the wall.
I know. We've lost Brendan again. He's gone AWOL. He's doing it deliberately just to keep me on my toes. He's a git. But I mean, again, when I've just seen from seen in the chat there that they're saying that they've just been watching they're watching Silver Nemesis. It's Stephen Genie Frith. Good to see you. Yeah, I mean, again, this is where we are at the moment, and everyone, let me know your thoughts on this.
Better. I mean, and they had no budget for that episode, and that episode was killed because of the budget. But Time Flight is a better episode than what we
100%. Yeah, and again,
some of the iffy cultural depictions from the Master, which wouldn't fly today.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we are, where everybody is going now. Right, we're going back. I would say 99% of people we're going back to classic Doctor Who, and we're gonna.
That's supposed to be a bad episode compared to what I just seen. It's gold.
Exactly right, and people are just they're living in what they see as the golden era of Doctor Who, and they're just enjoying every moment of it because, let's not forget, a lot of the people in the audience in the chat tonight and elsewhere, they gave a lot of time to this production team. They were willing to give them another chance. They supported them
to succeed. We were willing them to succeed. We were willing it. I remember one time it was my mom, and it was right before Halloween. We're seeing all the Star Wars kids. I turned to my mom and says, "Ever Disney and BBC played this right? Next year we will see Doctor Who being Halloween." That didn't happen. I mean, if they played it right, this could have been the biggest thing in the globe.
I think you're right. I think, again, for me, I hear it a lot about, these people talking about it's got to be global. Well, arguably, when it really took off, and you'll know because you live in the US, when it took off in the United States, it was the Matt Smith era that did it. And it wasn't because of really high budgets.
That plays nonstop Star Trek The Next Generation reruns.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, and it was, yeah.
So again, and I think, didn't you get it on Netflix at one point in the US as well?
I think you did. I didn't have Netflix at that time, so
and I think
it was on COVID that it was on Netflix.
And I think again, I think it wasn't massive budgets that made it a success in the US and elsewhere. It was word of mouth that people started hearing about. Oh, Doctor Who's really good. And it was passed on to people, and people were watching. They were sharing about how they liked it, and people got involved in it, and people started watching it on Netflix, and it really took off. And that's what happened. That was also a bit of a curse for Doctor Who, because instantly you had the execs thinking, and the higher up producers thinking, we've got to make it global. We're not making it as a unique British show anymore. We're making it as a global show. Whereas they lost that wonderful element that people tuned into, that quirky science fiction show. It needs to go back to its roots. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Michelle.
100%. Yeah, I needs to go back to its roots, and then at some point, I don't know where it can. And I think we're also this is the 5 stages of grief. We're at the acceptance part, and I'm at the acceptance part that it may not come back though on TV again, or in a way past the war between the land and the sea. We need to start accepting that there's a possibility that and we also have 50 plus years of media and I know the show wasn't all on for 50 years, but there is 50 years worth of media out there.
Yeah.
Maybe what we have, and be jolly glad that we have it.
Absolutely right. And I'm getting some news from Brendan. Apparently, there has been an insurrection from the Who Pets at Sentsphere HQ, and at this moment in time, Brendan is currently chained up to a wall, and they're pulling circuits and cables all over the place. So, you know, we might get him back, we might not.
That's a little kinky. That's a little dirty, man. I
Yeah.
didn't those Who Pets don't have it. You know, Annabelle has nothing compared to those Who Pets. I mean, that could be the next horror franchise after Annabelle retires, and her SWAT. Annabelle went on tour in the United States, and so everything bad happening in the United States this summer was blamed on Annabelle. So yeah.
Well, I'm hearing as well that there's a Who Pet standing over Brendan with a replica sonic screwdriver, and Brendan and Jamie are quite concerned about what's going to happen next.
Is it the coolest? Is it like the other, like the shooting one, or the?
I have been talking to anyone I can to get me back on. In the end, I had a word with the face of Bo. That seemed to work.
Hello.
Well, there you go. Thank you for being good troopers there. Oh, we changed slide for you. I can go again. No. And he said, my son said, I heard the BBC executives are open to, happy to look at anything, and therefore I can't see RTD living with anybody else being involved. And we all know how he is. So we come to my final segment. Gosh, we're nearly there.
Oh, God.
RTD pleasing himself. I got these photographs from his Instagram account. He was at Manchester Pride recently, and there were loads of photographs. He seems to know everybody there. He's a national treasure, don't you know? So there you go. Pleasing himself. Pleasure. Yeah, okay. The reason I show this, folks, and I'll take my kind of border off again, is obviously he put it up on Instagram. RTD, Tiptoe, the read-through day, very exciting. The cast announced on Thursday, coming in 2026, darlings, and all that lot. Fine, he's moved on. He's got a project going on Channel 4, great. But in the meantime, he has left a mess that he doesn't want to discuss. Behave. He's leaving other people to do the spin. It's so clear, if you add all the dots, that the Doctor Who era is over, and he's not going to come back.
No, he shouldn't have come back. Because clearly his heart is not in it. The RTD of earlier is, and that happens with creatives. Creatives change, and he should have allowed to go into a new direction, a new, creative, because he's definitely a different person than what he was in 05.
Yeah, I've again with this guy.
And I really question how much he really ever have loved the franchise or the series.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
I'm starting to see it as an ego vanity project.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I've said this before I think I said to you before, Brendan, when we've been talking, and for me, any of us, if we were told tomorrow that we were to take over as producers of Doctor Who, that we would never be able to do what he and Phil Collinson and co have done to Doctor Who the last few years, and actually have the audacity to call ourselves fans of the show. You cannot do that to a show and then say that you're a big fan of the show, because clearly the ideology is overridden any love he had for the show or any respect he had for it as a child growing up.
And this we all read into, didn't we? Because when he said, Doctor Who is not mine, I don't own it. And you realise that, where are we today? Jane Tranter has said we just have to wait, and that was always the plan. Shooty says I was always basically leaving. We've got Stephen Moffat saying it's a national duty to keep showing Doctor Who. And then you've got the man who's masterminded 2 eras of Doctor Who saying it's actually not mine, I don't own it. Now, since he's just been trying to own it by everything they've been doing with Big Finish, kind of masterminding that, masterminding, Sutek, Omega, the Rani, iPlayer, the colorizations. I'm sorry, you have been acting as though you do own it, actually. You've even decided to change Davros, and you thought that was fine. And now, apparently, you've walked off, you've tiptoed off to your gay drama on Channel 4, and you've left us going, so what now? Oh, thank God for that CBBS Doctor Who's coming. There's just nothing left. I don't own it. Yeah, I think you're disowning it. That's what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think everything is starting to happen as I kind of predicted it would happen, whereby slowly, as I've said to you folks before, I said at the beginning of the promotion for season 2, it sounded like a bit of a wake by the way they were promoting and talking about the show. And I said when it came to the end of season 2, I predicted that there would be RTD would do a PR campaign where he'd be on shows and he'd be trying to rebrand his image to, I'm a nice guy, which he's been doing on YouTube of late. I also think you've now got Moffat coming out and saying something. You've got Jane Tranter coming out and saying something. And the next phase to come is when the rats start eating themselves. And I'm really looking forward to that point because it will happen. You've got what RTD and the Shooty Wars is going to happen at some point.
I think, John, when I was talking to the source about this, he said, look, you've got to remember the power of NDAs. He said, and remember, Disney aren't dissing BBC and BBC aren't dissing either way. RTD's not dissing Disney and vice versa.
But they do. But NDAs do end though, mate. And
no, he said they go way into the,
Well, there are certain issues that have occurred with Disney and certain people where there has been a lot of public back and forth. So they do get to the point, and that will happen. I would be amazed if someone like Gatwa has signed up to a lifetime NDA. And I still think, regardless, I think you're going to see stuff in the next few years because you see it a lot where people suddenly realize that they're not as successful as they thought they were in Hollywood, and they go, you know what I'll do? I'll write a book, and they do a tell-all book, and that will happen, and I'm going to stick to that.
Look at Chris Eccleston was blacklisted. I mean,
he was for 10 years, but he's now talking. So again, that wasn't a lifetime NDA.
Well, but he's not saying much. He's getting to the brink, but he's letting us join the dots, basically.
He will say a lot more, but that was quite striking for what he said. So I do think, I do think NDAs end. I don't think it's as black and white as it's a lifetime thing. And I think that there are going to be fireworks in the next few years.
Let's see, because my source said, Brendan, that they've all buttoned down. Raikon Zeon, good to see you. The BBC has a national duty to end, get shut down, and just let the Doctor Who franchise get bought out by Universal. Is it a bit of, though, be careful what you wish for? Because, I mean, once the BBC loses their kind of nanny state, anti-Beeb, patronizing, condescending, risk-averse kind of version of Doctor Who, it's anything goes, isn't it, Michelle?
It is. I mean, I think we've already had that. Be careful what you wish for at this point. Again, I have to be Debbie Downer. It may just need to go away for a while until all this straightens itself out and we figure out where the BBC is going and we get new creatives and figure out where the media is going. And the other part I suggested in the chat is it may be independent creators may be the one saving the show, creating their own version of Doctor Who.
But that's it. I know. I just wanted to relate the two things because obviously I don't want to obsess about RTD because he is out the window. I'm the boss, he said, who says, do it my way. I don't want people questioning me. I want a team who'll come in, do what I say and make it brilliant. And of course, it was the passing of Christopher H. Bidmead this week. And I don't normally do streams about, various people who've contributed to Doctor Who if they're on their passing. But actually, if you dovetail the two things together, you can say that Christopher H. Bidmead for season 18 and how he worked with JNT and that push and pull creatively did create some very interesting bold vision of Doctor Who jumping from season 17 to 18. And, you know, Logopolis, very interesting concept. Castrovalva, I know people who love and adore Castrovalva. You got the Master back, you had E-Space, Full Circle, all that sort of stuff. I mean, when you've got RTD saying, I'm the boss who says, do it my way, and I have a team who'll come in and make it. And then you see what a team really did. I just wanted to say for a second, Christopher H. Bidmead, John, understood science.
He did, and I love that era of Christopher H. Bidmead. I love the fact that they wanted, you know, to bring it back to having there's a more scientific element to it, and he did it so well. I love everything about Castrovalva, Logopolis. It's just absolute Frontiers. It's absolute joy for me, and again, it's like night and day, because you look at the current iteration of Doctor Who. And we've talked about just the writing is atrocious. It just doesn't follow a structure. Christopher H. Bidmead made sure he followed a structure, and those stories are very, very strong, you know, and they work. And I will forever be grateful that we had him, you know, writing stories for Doctor Who and being involved in the production process. You know, an absolute joy. And again, I get sad because I'm now at a point in my life where some of these wonderful people are, you know, more and more seem to be disappearing into that eternal light now. And it's a shame. And when you look at where we were then to where we are now, I'm just lucky we had what we had. It's wonderful.
I mean, just to bring you in, Michelle, I was just going to say the Rage of Crom. If it's not brilliant to begin with, nothing anyone can do will make it brilliant. The other thing is, you know, we get accused, Michelle, a lot of being, you know, nostalgic, sentimentalists. You know, history is kind of lying in our memory. I'm sorry, but Logopolis, Castrovalva, Frontiers, and this era of Doctor Who, season 18, season 19. It was just quality.
Yeah, the first classic Who episode I ever watched is Castrovalva. So, you know, tip of my hat to him. And again, you realize what the challenges that he had that era. We had an insanely popular doctor, Tom Baker, leaving the show for a relatively younger actor, Peter Davison, who'd only been, you know, he was a supporting character on All Creatures Great and Small, to be able to carry on Doctor Who through its 20th anniversary period. I mean, this was an extremely difficult period of time, and he was bringing the show back to its roots from maybe the more gothic, you know, whimsy of the Tom Baker era to the more rooted in science of the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, look, some people say it was a bit dry. You know, I'm trying to think of the worst case criticisms, you know, or some of the stories were a bit dry. But I have to say, they started with concept. I mean, if you're a science fiction fan, you want to see or sniff out a concept somewhere. I don't want to start with, oh, what, they're going to get together and there's going to be a kiss. No, that's soap opera. That's another different program. What's the sci-fi concept? E-space. What's the sci-fi concept? I can never say this. Block, transfer, computation. All that stuff. The bit where Adric's on the top of the TARDIS and you have a TARDIS inside a TARDIS. All that stuff. He invented the cloister bell. You know, there was certain things.
And the post-regenerative sickness that's been used. I mean, that was really the first time we really saw that.
The Zero Room. I mean, Brian was there in the thread. Zero Room. The Zero Room. You can update canon. You can add to canon. Christopher H. Bidmead added to canon. It was an interesting idea.
And you know what he also did in Logopolis? He did something that hadn't been done since the Mine Robber, where he took the TARDIS out of time and space with Adric. That was done in the Mine Robber. He brought that back to help his story, which was done really well. But again, everything, as I said a few minutes ago, everything just works. But you're right, Brendan. You know, if it was today, what we would have had a 15 to 20, maybe 30-minute section of the episode where, you know, Nyssa and Tegan meet for the first time, and then Nissa's probably talking to Adric and saying, "Do you know what? I think I fancy that Tegan. What do you think I should do about it? Should I do something about it?" No, this doesn't.
Meanwhile,
This cracks on right from the word go, doesn't it?
meanwhile, let's compare. Even Stephen Moffat, out of the three, I thought he was the better one. And timey-wimey dialogue. And Farsight's just listed another cracking one. There's you, a kid, watching this. The charged vacuum emboitment. Go on then. Go and suck on that and work out what that is. This is Lexis, high advanced vocabulary. You need to work it out. It's, as I always make that lovely analogy to Genesis of the Daleks and insubordination and genocide. And I was sat there going, what? What is all this? Loved it. And as you say, Farsight, the Lexis went back up again. This is a science programme. This is not a dumbed down Teletubbies Doctor Who. Oh, do you know what? I'm getting upset. Oh, Millie, without you, a 19-year-old blonde, I don't think I could have coped. Instead, we were doing charged vacuum emboitments.
Entropy. Yeah. Entropy was a big
yeah.
point. Yeah. Fantastic stuff. And again,
adding a backstory to Turlo, who was always seen as a little bit of dodgy in Frontios, where he's having the memories of the cultural memory of the Tractators on his home planet. So the TARDIS disappears.
But when Mark Gatiss says it's part of the reason we're in the mess we are, I think weaponized nostalgia. I'm sorry. If you really compare the scripts, if you compare the acting, if you compare what Doctor Who looks like, Stephen Moffat, I don't want more Doctor Who. It's not a national duty. And sorry, my nostalgia can be quite critical, actually. I can list a lot of classic Who, which I think is crap. But I know it's got worse overall. And that is the truth of it. So I'm not buying into that, Mark. I'm not. And as we tiptoe towards the end here, I've asked both of these panelists, and there's a few. Remember, the Who Pets are on holiday next week. We've got the Cliffhangers Nail Biters show every night, weekday. It's about tea time, and you'll get clips of their chosen cliffhangers, good ones and bad ones. Here's a taster of one of them. There you go. Who picked those three? And then you've also got, there's two shows I'm advertising straight away. So everybody, thank you for joining us tonight in what has been a very interesting, a sabotaged ridden show. John, you have been working like a trooper, you and Michelle. Do you want to shout out your channel? Because you might as well, because at least you know how to run a channel all the time when you have power cuts.
Yeah, you've just jinxed me now. I'm going to get a power cut on mine, don't you? Yeah, thanks, mate. I mean, I'm still doing Stargate SG1 watch parties on Sunday nights at 8:30 p.m. UK and 12:30 p.m. PST. They're great fun. We watch them in the Discord together, and then we chat in the YouTube chat. It's good fun. The other thing, just to tease, is I'm still doing and I've got more to come out. I'm still doing my Alien Earth and Star Trek Strange New Worlds reviews. I'm going to have to start drinking whiskey during each episode review because it's getting quite painful. And just to tease, in the next few weeks, I've also got a review retrospective on the Back to the Future trilogy, and I'm still just deciding whether I do it as a live show or as a recording. So, feel free to let me know what you'd want.
Do you want my advice? Because obviously live always works.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Michelle, yeah. All the best laid plans on my men, you say, So Michelle, you obviously have certain things you can mention and sell and publish.
Since I last on the show, my first young adult book has come out, The Ghostly Tales of Fredericksburg, Virginia. I know it's available on Amazon. I think it's also available in the UK. I know it is available in the United States, so you can find that. And it is a young adult version of my adult book, Haunted Fredericksburg.
Oh, you've said adult books, and everyone's going, oh, no.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah.
This is like more for like child friendly. So like some of the historical violence that I mentioned, you have the water down a little bit because it's going for children, versus some of the more bloody adult history.
So there you go, everybody. It's a good job I had two of you on, isn't it? Because can you imagine if you're on your Todd? So thank you tonight. I'm going to go and whip the Hoopettes, and I'm going to, I think they're going to be locked in that suitcase. There may be a show before we go away, but remember, next week, weekdays on the night times, there'll be loads of cliffhangers and wow, good nostalgia there. And it's not a weapon at all. Thank you, John. Thank you, Michelle. I think that is it now. They can do whatever power cuts they want to do. I couldn't give a toss. Bye, everybody. See you again.
See ya.